Now, if there is one driver that caused a huge shake-up in the F1 paddock, that has to be Colton Herta. Although we're still waiting for the FIA to grant him the super license the way they're wanting to. By force majeure and circumventing some of the principles, many F1 bosses are reluctant about this deal and want the FIA to keep its principles. Nevertheless, it seems like the Herta AlphaTauri deal is a done thing from both sides, as everybody is waiting for the official news to come out from the FIA regarding his super license. So why is this such a huge thing, and what does the future hold for Herta? Stick around with us to find out more. Now, Colton Herta is a driver that currently races in the IndyCar 500, and he's part of McLaren's academy as we speak. Therefore, the team may have to return the favour to Red Bull after they release Pato O'Ward from the academy in order for him to join McLaren. After all, they wouldn't need Herta anymore for their F1 prospects since they signed Piastri, and Norris is already a secured pick for the Woking-based team. But how is the situation in AlphaTauri? Well, Pierre Gasly is nowhere to be linked with the senior team of Red Bull, and now that it's highly unlikely that he'll join them again after Perez has continued his deal until 2024, he's looking for another place to go. In recent interviews, Gasly said that he's ready to go to a top-performing team, and Helmut Marko said that if Gasly was to drive for a French team, that would be a dream coming true for him. He and Horner also spoke about the French driver's future, saying that if all the circumstances are met for the AlphaTauri team, then there would be no holding back on Gasly. Now, what's supporting this narrative even more is the fact that Horner said that Herta is the only driver that AlphaTauri are considering replacing Gasly. However, he also said that they won't let go of the 26-year-old Frenchman prior to the FIA giving Herta his super license, something that's caused some controversies on the grid. Horner said, "I think he's an exciting talent. He's a younger American guy that's been a standout talent in the US, so it'll be very interesting to see how he performs in F1. And F1 obviously is growing in popularity in the US market at the moment, and to have a successful US driver could be very interesting. It could be interesting for us in the long term. I mean, we've got contracts with our existing drivers, but AlphaTauri or Toro Rosso, they've produced a great stable of drivers for us to draw upon, whether it be Sebastian or Max or Daniel over the years," said Horner, who continued to speak about the clarification of the super license, the only thing that is currently holding Colton Herta back. "I think that's an FIA issue. We just need to clarify what is the situation regarding driver points, which hopefully will come sooner rather than later, because that plays a key role obviously in the driver merry-go-round. Obviously, in terms of clarification on points for a driver looking to come into F1, you've got to know that you've got options, and if that option isn't there, then the other triggers are not going to come into play. I think Pierre is doing a good job within AlphaTauri, so I don't think there'll be a desire to change if there wasn't an interesting option available," said Horner at the end when he asked about Gasly's replacement options in AlphaTauri. Now, what's more worrying is the fact that Red Bull already have their own talents racing in F2, such as Liam Lawson and Dennis Hauger, with the latter one coming from an F3 winning championship season. Liam Lawson had some free practice sessions with AlphaTauri during the Spa GP. So many constructors and close sources to F1 said that if the deal with Colton Herta was to go through, then there won't be any need to invest in F4, F3 and F2 as breeding grounds for F1 talent. Now, that brings us to the next point, which is the rebel phase of this contract. Many team principals said that the FIA needs to hold its own ground on this situation and that granting Herta his super license won't bring good to the sport. However, they also argue that the sport needs to review the super license points granted to drivers that are outside of the Formula programs, such as IndyCar. From my point of view, it has nothing to do with force majeure, because you have championships everywhere in the world where you are able to score points. If the FIA wants to stop the process of the points and the super license, it's another story. But they can do it, and it's up to them to decide if they want to stop the system, and we can survive without the system. But nothing for me to do with force majeure, said Vasseur. His thoughts were shared by Haas's principal, Günther Steiner, who added, "We have got rules and regulations which we need to respect. If we don't respect our own rules and try to find ways around it, I don't think that's correct. I mean, we could then apply that to other things as well. I'm one of those who says if you've got rules, if we don't respect them and just try to find ways around them, then we need to change the rules, and that is a different discussion. If you want to change the rule, let's speak about it. But again, there's a governance in place," finished Steiner. Steiner has received some backlash from a couple of American drivers, such as Connor Daly, the son of a former F1 driver Derek Daly, who said, Oh, what a surprise! The team principal for the American F1 team is not a supporter of an American driver once again. Apart from him, Alexander Rossi, who started 5 races in F1 in 2015 and then moved to IndyCar, shared, "I'm so sick of this," on social media. Apart from Vasseur and Steiner, Toto Wolff also shared his concerns regarding the super license being granted to Herta the way it's supposed to with force majeure. But he also says that the American drivers that want to enter the F1 sport but aren't able to race in F4, F3 and F2, since it's kind of a European thing to do because it works mostly for Europe, need to have more points granted in other categories. It would be great to have an American in F1, and it obviously would give us a good boost in the US, but I think the point system is there for a reason. We don't want to create a system where you try to pick out series that has the least resistance, where the scoring ability is the highest. I think the F4, F3, F2 echelon is something that works for Europe. Maybe you need to look at IndyCar, what that could mean, or Super Formula. Does that score the right points? But the regulations are the regulations, and I would really hope the Americans can somehow score enough points to make it in F1, said Wolff. Now, what's even more encouraging for these team bosses is the fact that Stefano Domenicali, who is the CEO of F1, is also against the FIA granting Herta the license with force majeure. As he said, "The sport needs to respect the rules, and of course American drivers or other drivers are very important. If he is eligible to come in F1 because he has the points, it's fantastic news. But there is a ladder to follow, there is a protocol to respect, and that is the situation. So it's really what I believe is right to do," said Domenicali, who also talked about the calls for a change to the points weighting for the IndyCar series, adding, "I don't think it's right to change something retrospectively. I think it's the right thing to do to apply the rules, and if there is some point to be discussed, if there is a need to update the rules, there is the right forum in which everyone can bring ideas or points for discussion. But today, the rule is that one should be respected. That's my opinion," finished Domenicali. Herta is truly a hot piece in the market as we speak, and most of that is due to the fact that he is a USA citizen, so the popularity of the sport will be boosted even further. We've seen 2 tracks being implemented in the USA, one in 2022 and one in 2023, and with the Austin race, there are a total of 3 races on the continent. If a team can land a good performing US driver, rest assured that its popularity will grow through the roof. So, what do you think is next for Colton Herta in AlphaTauri? Do you think that this deal will go through thanks to force majeure? Let us know in the comments below.